Live.
There we go. Alrighty. So hello everyone and welcome to the Team Beardage live stream. Jason will not be able to be with us this time around. We'll make sure to catch him next time though, and hopefully Kevin and I were talking about this too, about doing this maybe every 2 weeks or something, at least once every month, because I think it's been longer than that since we last did one.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks would be kind of nice, depending on like what's going on. I mean, if it's in the summer, that's generally not when there's a lot of video game news after E3. But every like especially right now, we should be doing one every 2 weeks because of like all the fall video game stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice. Okay, so this episode, we wanted to talk about the send-off to the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and the Nintendo Wii. So we're going to be talking about a bunch of our favorite games from that time, a bunch of big games that not necessarily were our favorites, but we just have to acknowledge them because they had a big splash, and also some of the kind of hits and the misses also of some of the games or some things that they tried and it didn't really work. But just a whole bunch of stuff from that era. So I'm really excited to get into this. But just before we get into that, what was your favorite console out of the three and why?
Um,
I know I'm putting you on the spot. I had a list for everything else, but not this.
that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I know where my favorite game of the generation was, but it wouldn't have been my favorite console. 360 probably in the early days. PS3 by a landslide in the later years.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like for me, the Wii was never really. I like the Wii and I like its place, and like I would never have wanted to go through that generation without the Wii. But the main two were for me the PS3 and Xbox 360. But at the beginning, I was like Xbox 360 all the way. They were getting all the exclusives. They were getting everything. And then like after that, they just kind of meant like, okay, we're gonna do multi-platforms and like 3 other exclusives all the time.
Yeah, and they were always the same franchises, so it was, the big ones, which we'll get into after, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry, I just as soon as while we were talking, that like another clip just started here. Do you have the stream, by the way?
I just sent you the comment
Yep.
page. And
Thank you.
the stream is that one. Second one.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's a separate comment page that I sent you to, so you can. I watched them both separate.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So I guess we're kind of on the same page for that then. That's
It seems like when everything started up, the 360 was just so strong, and they were pounding out like all of these games, and I think that's what they had to do.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that it was in the market for a year first. So by the time the PS3 hit the market, it was looking at, second-year games, and developers had had their hands on the console for quite some time. So I think this time around, with them launching basically neck and neck,
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see the same sort of thing happen. Although to a degree we actually have, with Microsoft coming out strong once again, and
Yeah.
reasonably strong. Not as strong as maybe they were before, but
I think it's just because that the PS4 doesn't have a ton of exclusives at the moment. It's just because they had like their launch, and then they had like Infamous, and now have we had anything since Infamous? Like 2014, we've had Infamous, and that's the only one I can think of.
Last of Us Remaster. As
Okay,
far as
yeah,
that counts.
yeah. So, and it's a remaster, and that's another thing too that I want to talk about. Is like the remasters. Like, they're becoming more apparent in this generation that we're in right now, but it started basically last generation, with all the HD remakes for Prince of Persia, Sly Cooper. PS3 had a lot that they did with that, like Jack and Daxter.
The cool thing they did with the Prince of Persia ones, though, when they re-released those onto PlayStation Network, they incorporated 3D support into those games. And for somebody like me who had a 3D television at the time, it was really cool because it was like the only 3D games, with the exception of maybe Super Stardust.
Oh, really?
That there were very, very few. Gran Turismo did some 3D gaming as well, but that was about it. So those were really cool, because all three games, I don't remember all the names of them, but all three of the Prince of Persia games that came in that pack were 3D, which was cool.
Okay, so where were we? What were we just talking about before we talked about the HD remakes? I already forgot. That's bad. Because I was like, I was just like, oh yeah, agreeing with you, and then because I was trying to think of other games. Wasn't Killzone 3 also 3D though? Because I was thinking of that.
Yeah, there were. Yeah, I think that one was too. Actually, we were talking about the dry spell of the PS4.
Yes.
So that's where we were. I think The Last of Us is the last major release that you could call, at least from an exclusive standpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was probably Infamous before that. Little Big Planet, I think, drops next month.
Yeah. Drive Club technically this month. But that's like 2 games for the fall season that are exclusives. There's nothing else after that. For 2014. In 2015 they'll pick up. The Order, I mean, I think that alone, that looks really good. But anyway, that's next generation, or this generation. So let's talk about the last generation. So going on with what you said about the Xbox 360 just pumping out, like they fought tooth and nail to get, Final Fantasy to come to the Xbox 360, to come to Microsoft. So it wasn't an exclusive, but it was, finally it's not just on PlayStation. And then at the beginning, they were just pumping out like RPGs like mad. They had like Tales of Vesperia, so they had a Tales that was exclusive to 360, not PS3. They had Infinite Undiscovered, which was a Square game. They had The Last Story. They had not The Last Story. Lost Odyssey. Lost Odyssey
and Blue Dragon, which were the Mistwalker ones.
Yeah. So they were really trying to get like a completely different audience, and it didn't really work in that aspect. Like, it still ended up being, Halo was the big thing that worked for them. Gears was a new property for them, but it was still like a shooter game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, we tried a bunch of different things, and it didn't really work for us. So we're just gonna stick to our guns and stick with the stuff that works, which kind of sucks, because now we don't have any variety.
Yeah, and they just they keep pumping out all these different FPS games, and they're still doing it at this point. And it's like all these other genres are kind of getting, they're just kind of slipping through the cracks. Where are platformers and
when was the last time that either PlayStation or Microsoft made a platformer?
I think you could somewhat call Knack a platformer, but that's basically as close as I think it gets.
Yeah, well, Little Big Planet as well. I just thought of that, but yeah, Little Big Planet is with a lot more added into it. But the point of Little Big Planet isn't just a good platformer. It's to be able to create stuff, right? So that you can kind of take it away. So before that, so PlayStation did Sly Cooper 4, so we could include that. But and the PS2 era, tons of platformers that third-person perspective platformers instead of the 2D planes. And man, a 2D plane platformer is just basically on the Wii. Nintendo has the rights for like all of that, other than multi-platforms that you see like Rayman, for example. But does Microsoft have anything like that?
They own Banjo-Kazooie, but they do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Which I think will change.
Hopefully. And, I do think that they've kind of learned from not their mistakes, but like what they were doing with the 360 at the end. That they're going to try to change that up a little bit and go for like big names that they have. Like, if you have this property, why not use it? Why shell out the money at the beginning and not do anything with it? And especially Banjo-Kazooie. That was a huge name during the 64 era. Use it.
I consider Nintendo 64, PS1 sort of era. I consider that maybe the golden age of platformers as far as 3D consoles go. I don't really feel we've ever got back to that level, because on the on the Nintendo side, you had great games like Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64, which defined everything.
Donkey Kong Country, yeah.
Donkey Kong Country. You got Crash Bandicoot on the other side.
Yeah.
And we've seen very little of him beyond that point. He was on the PS2. I don't think he ever hit. Did he hit the PS3 at all?
Crash?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did, but he was not the same. Pretty much as soon as Naughty Dog let go of Crash Bandicoot, he kind of just turned to crap. He had an okay game on the PS2, like the first one, the Wrath of the Cortex, I think it was, like the first game after Naughty Dog, but after that, it was just went downhill.
Yeah.
And he showed up on 360 and Wii afterwards as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would hope that they're going to get back to the platformers. I know from Microsoft's standpoint anyways, Sony appears to sort of be a foot in on that with things like Little Big Planet and Knack. And I think they'll continue to do that because they have a little more diversity in their IPs, Sly Cooper as well. But I think from the Microsoft side, they will push to maybe create something or use things like Banjo, because I know Phil Spencer himself is a fan of platformers, so he said so in the past. So my guess is he'll want to bring some to his system.
That would be nice. I'd like that. Now, did you want to talk about do you want to start talking about the games, and do you want to start with a specific console, or do you want to just, what do you think would work best here?
We can kind of go on we can talk about the games for an individual console, and then just talk about the console as we go, and then just move from one to the next. Because the games.
Let's start with the 360.
Sure.
Because the 360 was the first one out, so.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so the Xbox 360, I picked up the 360, and it ended up being my console, my go-to console. More people had it that I knew that played it, so whenever I go on Xbox Live, I would have more friends that would be playing specific games, multi-platforms, and the exclusives. Also, I was coming off of Halo 2 from the original Xbox, and that was my life for the longest time in terms of my gaming from 2004 to 2007 was almost all Halo 2. Even when I picked up the Wii and the Xbox 360, it was still, I was going back to Halo 2. So that was the reason why I stuck with 360. Eventually I started playing other games, but Halo during the Xbox 360 era really didn't grab my attention as much as previous times. So it was there, but I only really enjoyed maybe Halo Reach and Halo 4 at the end. But I didn't put as much time as I did into those games than I did the previous games. So my favorites were actually two new IPs, that being Gears of War, and one of the things I have to say about Gears of War, and I want to ask you this too, Kevin. What was the first game that you played that was at that time the next generation? And what was the first game that when you played it, you were like, this is the new generation. We finally made it. This is wow graphics. For me, it was Gears of War. I played that in 2006, and I was just wow. And I was like, this is next generation graphics. This is awesome. And that was my first experience with a new Xbox 360 game at the time.
For me, the first game I actually got my hands on was actually NHL 2K6, 2K7,
yeah,
whatever it was,
okay.
The first one on the 360. It was a launch title because I got the 360 at launch. So that was the first game I played. Not an overly impressive game. So I wouldn't say that one was the first one that was oh, okay, next gen's here. This is the big graphic jump that we were waiting for. For me, it was.
Were you kind of let down when you played it?
Not especially, because I understand what hockey games are in general. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not really they've become games that push things a little bit more. The more cinematic portions of the game actually get in, and you see the players and the jerseys and all that stuff. That's been a progression. At that point, I don't feel like those games were like that.
Yeah.
So the first game, and that was actually the first game. Well, one of the two games that I bought with the system, but the first game that really showed it to me was Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter.
Oh, yeah.
And that game was gorgeous. For a launch title, too.
Yeah, and it helped with I find all the different colors that they would use for when you're walking around. Didn't it kind of like highlight everything in like blue, kind of, to kind of like show you where a person was or where an objective was? I just found that just really heightened it for whatever reason.
Yeah, like I spent portions of my time, like when I first got the game, just wandering around and like looking at the buildings and the trees and crap, and it was just like you stand at the edge of a bridge and you look off at like the city, and I'm just like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing we take for granted now. It's like if the game doesn't look like that, it's like, like not really. Like you can still enjoy the game, but there's a level of expectation now, like that game just wouldn't meet.
Yeah.
But it was a very, very good looking game.
And it's too bad that we won't ever really feel that. I find like we're gonna obviously always progress, but it's not gonna be to that level anymore. That was the last time that we're ever gonna have that feeling like, wow, this is insane how good that looks,
Yeah, it was like not at this quite the same level, but it was like going from the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64. Like the jump from 2D to 3D was huge, like bigger than what we're talking about going from non-HD to HD, standard def to HD. But it was a big jump.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was definitely jarring. The other game that I got with my 360 was Cameo, Elements of Power.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a really enjoyable game. Probably the last really good game that Rare has made. With maybe the exception of Viva Pinata.
I would count Viva Pinata. Pinata, it's different. It's not for everyone, but it's still enjoyable. It's not, just a regular Kinect sports game type of thing. I've actually played. I played the Kinect sports games, and they're actually not bad. It's just that when you compare that to like Banjo-Kazooie, and basically anything else they touched beforehand, like in the 64 era, and you're like, yeah. Didn't they do 007 as well, GoldenEye?
Yeah, they made GoldenEye as well. Yeah, they also
they owned the 64. It's crazy how well Rare did for Nintendo, and then Microsoft gets in. They're like, we don't know what to do with you.
Well, see, the thing is, right off the hop, Microsoft actually allowed them to make a few things, right? Like they came in and they're like, okay, Cameo, Nuts and Bolts. Perfect Dark Zero.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And Pinata, and they all sold like crap.
I know. It's kind of like they're not. I don't think people really followed the developers back then, and it was more so the title. So like Donkey Kong is what they would have followed. 007 GoldenEye was what they would have followed. Banjo-Kazooie. Had they have made a proper Banjo-Kazooie, that could have maybe worked. But another thing too is that I find that also Xbox 360 was owned more so not by like kids, and that's a huge demographic for Nintendo and why Nintendo was successful with those properties. Whereas the 360 was like, Banjo-Kazooie, okay, I remember when I was a kid, but I want to play my first-person shooters, and that's what the 360 ended up being, just a first-person shooter console.
And that was the big problem. It's it's the same reason they wouldn't be able to turn around and bring back a. Well, actually, you know what? They could probably make Jet Force Gemini work if they wanted to go back to that.
Yeah,
that was Rare as well.
Yeah, I think that now, because it's been such a stagnant, it's been a stagnant few years of basically like the same stuff over and over, that they have a chance of bringing out these other. I don't know. Like it seems as though when you read it on the internet and you look on YouTube, people want these other games, but are we just like a very small minority that like wants this and compared to what people will actually buy? Like if everybody that says that we want it, we might be 10,000, max 100,000 people. If we're the only ones buying the thing, then I mean that's not really going to do a dent in anything. Yeah.
Then that's the problem, I guess, that they need to sort out. Like to a certain degree, though, you can see them listening.
Oh yeah.
And going back and maybe looking at what some of those Rare IPs could be used for. Like even
Yeah.
if Rare's not developing the games, Microsoft can send them to other developers because they own all the content, right? It's
Yeah.
like Killer Instinct.
Yeah.
So which is actually $20 now, by the way, if you go into
Yeah.
the store.
And I want it because I want the physical copy too, and it comes with all the characters now, right?
Yeah,
If you
plus
buy that.
one of the season 2 characters.
Oh.
Because what they're doing, they did like season 1, which was like eight characters or something.
Okay.
Plus the character you start with.
Yeah.
And then I think season 2 adds like probably a similar amount.
Okay.
So then you could get the physical copy, and then you could, I don't know, DLC the extra fighters.
Yeah.
That would work. So, or you wait for season 2 to come out as physical copy.
I might do that too. Well, for $20, I mean, you can't really argue. That's
no.
For a like first day retail. That's pretty awesome.
And to be honest, the Killer Instinct remake is actually a pretty good remake. Like they did quite well with the IP. I think it stays fairly true to the original game, but it's kind of its own thing at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
I still have to check it out, because I haven't yet. But yeah, I'll eventually get around to that. Another Viva Pinata, I didn't even think of that, but that's a really cool series. It's like I like it a little bit more because it's kind of like a Harvest Moon type of game. But anyway, the other game that I really wanted to mention for the Xbox 360 anyway is Left 4 Dead. I just loved the hell out of Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. I probably put more hours into Left 4 Dead than any Halo Xbox 360. So I just loved that game. Did you ever get a chance? Like, I know you're not into first-person shooters that much, but did you get a chance to play that game?
I never played Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
As far as zombie games go,
Yeah.
360, I kind of jumped in on Dead Rising because it was like lighter, and it was also exclusive actually at the beginning there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know if the first one ever made it to the PS3 in the end. I know the second one did.
Yeah. I know that they had one on the Wii, but it was like maybe either a remake or a spin-off of the first Dead Rising. Is that what we're talking about? I don't know.
You think you have it?
Possibly. I don't know anymore. No, I don't. I know. I don't. So yeah, that's for me. That's the only few games that that were exclusive that I played on the Xbox 360. But then almost every multi-platform game, boom, like that's all that is Xbox 360, and most of it is multi-platforms. That's just the controller, and more people were on it at the time that I knew. So there you go.
For me, I would say there were 5 games that I played a lot of. Gears of War, like you did.
You liked that one?
I love Gears of War, actually, believe it or not, which is very odd because it doesn't seem at all like a game that I would get into. But
third person, though, I think that helps for you anyway. I think third persons you like more.
I do, for sure. I like being able to see the character when I'm moving around. And I honestly thought that Gears of War, to me, was the first shooter that I played that really nailed the cover system.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I felt like I could play that game and not lose my mind. Because I'm really not very good. So the cover system helps me.
And then I find that also Gears of War introduced that cover system, and then everybody copied after that.
Yeah, it was a little bit ahead of its time, I suppose. I don't know. Honestly, it was probably somewhere before that, but it's the first place I ever saw it.
Same,
so I credited it to Gears of War. Somebody maybe viewing or whatever might know. I'd be interested to know if there were any games that did it the same way earlier.
If it was, it would have been like PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, right? Like, and I'm trying to think of what.
Yeah, I don't know, right? Like the shooters by and large in that era.
Yeah.
Like that's coming. Like take that from where it's coming from. I'm not much of a shooter fan, but I don't think it's a goal. I don't think it's a good time for shooters in general.
No. Halo was the only thing at the time that I knew of that was doing really well. Killzone didn't do too bad, I guess, with the first Killzone on the PS2, but like SOCOM, maybe SOCOM actually might have done that, because isn't SOCOM third person?
Might have been. I think it was actually, yeah.
And I could see them doing some kind of cover systems, because it's more like stealth.
Tactical.
Yeah. So maybe, but I don't know if it actually did or not, because that's going back a while.
So two other large ones. Forza, but Forza Horizon was the one that I played the most. I really enjoyed Forza Horizon. Fable 2. Another huge franchise for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Which I felt like the first Fable was really good, but I really felt that Fable really got its footing on the 360 and then completely lost it after
that. And see, I've only played the first Fable. I own Fable 2, and I've been meaning to get around to it, but I just haven't. And I love Fable. I have no idea why I haven't gotten around to Fable 2 yet. And then Fable 3 as well. But so have you played Fable 3 and you didn't like it as much?
No, you know what? I did like Fable 3. I don't know. I don't know. It's just the.
Fable 2 was the best.
Fable 2 was really good. I thought Fable 3 was a step below. And then I feel like there's something that came after that just made me shake my head, and I don't remember what it would have been.
It was the Connect Fable, the Journey or something?
That would be it. That's the one. And then this new one that's coming out, I'm actually quite excited for, but I've heard bad things. So it's I don't really know what to think. Well, I heard bad things from one person on IGN. Otherwise, I haven't really heard much.
Who said it? Was it Colin?
Well, he'll say anything bad about Microsoft.
Exactly, and he's just a huge piece of shit. So I don't listen to anything he says.
I don't actually remember who it was that wrote it, but there's a impressions sort of article that was done.
Right. I just gotta take 2 seconds just because we mentioned him, and anytime that we mention something I really dislike, I have to get into it. But holy crap, that Colin guy is a huge piece of shit. We talked about it just a while ago about Mass Effect and how the third game, at the end of it, if you didn't get the DLC, is a very generic ending. And he went on this big rant about the people like bitching about that, and I was like, why would you? I can't remember exactly what he said, but holy crap, do you remember any of that?
I don't remember his. Honestly, I agree with you. Just from other things that I've always seen.
Yeah.
But I don't remember that specifically. I do remember all the stink about Mass Effect 3 and whatnot. But I don't think I ever saw his rant in particular.
And it's I can't remember it now exactly what his points were, but everything he said, I was like, you're a fucking piece of shit, and I disagree with you, wholeheartedly.
I almost hate watching the podcast Beyond with Greg Miller and him, because he takes himself so serious and he's so smug sitting there with his hipster glasses.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm glad I'm not the only person that thinks that. Holy crap! I like the other guy, Greg. Greg is awesome.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's super entertaining, but God, Colin is so arrogant and egotistical, and he thinks he's the king of shit, and he knows his stuff, and nobody should disagree with him ever. And
the thing, it's like he's always talking from the point of these are the facts, you can either agree with me or go fuck yourself.
Yes, and god damn. He has to understand that it's not everybody's cup of tea. And then another thing too was him and Greg Miller made the top 25 games for the PS4. When Metal Gear 4 came out for the PS3,
25 games.
Pardon me?
Does it have 25 games?
For IGN, they include multi-platforms. I don't know why.
That's kind of dumb.
Yeah. That's not a real, you have 25 multi-platforms for that generation, yeah, sure, but you have it on a separate list. Anyway,
Yeah.
Because like, oh, I liked BioShock more on the Xbox 360 than the PS3 because of this one specific moment. Like, it's not enough for me. Sometimes there are huge differences, but like most of the time they're pretty close to the same. So anyway, on that list, there's no mention of Metal Gear at all. And Greg, when he made the review, he said this is the reason why you should own a PS4. This is my favorite PS4 game, PS3 game. Sorry, it's because Metal Gear 4. And they didn't mention it at all, and it was a cohesive thing about Greg and Colin, and Colin didn't care for Metal Gear, so he said, no, fuck it, we're not going to put it on. I don't give a shit that it was your favorite game of the entire console, and this is supposed to be like a partnership. We're not even going to mention it. And then like people like complained, and they said that, like, you know, Greg, you said this was your favorite game. Like, you said he apparently when he did his review, he was just so adamant. You can tell that this, like, he was having a blast with this game and he loved it to death. And then they just didn't even acknowledge it. And then everybody was pissed off and they said this and like, why isn't it on the list? And then Colin's like, well, this is our opinions and it doesn't have to involve everybody else's. And it's like, well, Greg is the other opinion there and you completely disregarded him. Yeah. And it's just, wherever he ends up, he tries to take over. And it's everything that he represents is I just disagree with almost all the time.
And I like when he writes editorials about Microsoft stuff, because he has nothing to do with the Microsoft side of IGN. So it's like Microsoft starts backpedaling on some of their policies and stuff, and they start doing these different things to reach out back to the consumer and do good things. And he's like, the headline goes up, Microsoft taking a play from Sony's book, and I'm just like, seriously.
I know.
Everything back to Sony.
Yes, Sony can't do anything wrong in his eyes, and Microsoft, anything that they do wrong, he'll jump at, and he'll just cutthroat and say all their games suck, and just, I don't know. Like,
and every time somebody says the Vita has no games, he comes out and he's like, this game's coming, and this game's coming, and this game's coming, and I'm like, I've never heard of any of those.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care.
These games are going to get like 10,000 copies, and they're niche. Or niche, is that how you pronounce it? Anyway, they're niche games. And the point of niche is that it's not everybody's cup of tea, and that's not what people want to be playing on the goddamn Vita. They want to be playing RPGs. They want to be playing, big games that we've heard of before. Uncharted, Little Big Planet. In the first year they had them. After that, they just kind of like.
It's just not what they promised us.
Yeah.
When they were pitching the Vita in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
It's become an indie title machine, which is okay.
Yes, but it's not what
it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Console-like exclusives on the go.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's never been realized.
When you played Uncharted, it felt pretty freaking epic. Like the Vita is by far stronger than the 3DS.
And that was a launch title.
Proved it. Pardon me?
I think that was a launch title for the Vita.
Yeah, it was, and it was like
since.
The scenery. Well, they had like in that first year, they had like Little Big Planet at least, and I mean that's pretty cool because like that's what they were promising. We were gonna get Little Big Planet, Uncharted, big series that we were not that were on console that had never been seen on handhelds before. We did get Killzone. Like last year, but that was like one big game last year.
Yeah, there was that Unit 13, which I think was an exclusive, and that was supposedly very good.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
that's first year though, and then there's like Gravity Rush, which was its biggest IP, first year again. It's all first year. Persona 4, which everybody says if you want a Vita, this is the game to get. First year, everything was that first year of the Vita. Anything after that, other than Killzone. There's no other big IP. There are other games, and there's other games that I like, but not everybody likes these little games and little niche games or indie games. I mean, it's
like where are the God of War? I'm not huge on God of War, but it's a big title.
Yeah.
Where's the Infamous? Where's
Grand Theft Auto? Grand Theft Autos were huge on the PSP.
Yeah, GTA, Gran Turismo, like.
Yeah,
none of these things have ever found their way over, and that's what I believe people thought they were buying when they invested in the PS Vita hardware.
Yeah.
They're letting everybody down, and they just continue, like, they just waltz into all of their shows, say nothing about Vita, and waltz out. Like, eventually
Yeah.
they have to announce something.
Remember when they took time to talk about this cartoon or something instead of talking about Vita for like 6 minutes?
Yeah.
They talked about a goddamn cartoon show.
Yeah. And then it's like
comics that nobody's heard of.
Yeah. And then it's like the next day they come out after these shows and it's like, oh, we're still supporting the Vita. The Vita's not dead. And it's like, well, why was there nothing in your fucking show?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you can't just say you're supporting something and then do absolutely nothing to support it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No, not at all. I'm just gonna. Jason popped in and he said, "Just saying hi from work on my phone. Fable 3 improved a bit on 2, but they could do so much better than what they did with 3." I just wanted to get that out there before we waited too long.
Kind of to wrap up the 360 games. My other two would have been Alan Wake and Crackdown.
I've never played either of those, and I just picked up Crackdown 1 and 2, so I will be getting around to those eventually. And I've wanted to get into Alan Wake 2 as well, but never happened.
I will buy Crackdown 1, like Crackdown, and we can play co-op.
You have a 360?
My brother does.
Awesome! It's like I picked it up for $5, so I mean, so there's a co-op?
Yeah, Xbox Live. You can play like the entire game on co-op.
Both of them, or just Crackdown 1?
Crackdown 1 at least. I don't remember. I don't think I ever played Crackdown 2 in co-op, but I don't know why they'd get rid of it.
Yeah, it says 2 to 4, so I believe.
Yeah. It's awesome. I played a large portion of Crackdown with another person.
You should get them soon because like I don't have anything for October that I'm picking up. Oh well, I just picked up Super Smash Brothers, and I'm gonna be picking up Harvest Moon, but those are kind of like I'm not playing anything really big right now that's new, so I could actually go back. I don't have it yet. I'm waiting for a price drop.
Nobody else would have saw that because I wasn't talking. So I'm gonna do it again while I'm talking. I was flashing Shadow of Mordor to him but it's a single-player game, so we can't play this together. So.
No, that's true too. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, I'm not playing any new big games. Like, I'm playing a bunch of old games that I'm trying to beat, but I'm not playing anything new from 2014 right now. Other than, like I said, Super Smash Brothers. I'm gonna be picking up Harvest Moon, but there's no big, like, because Dragon Age was supposed to come out in October and it got pushed back to November, and a few other games too that I was looking forward to in October, and they're just not happening at this point. So.
Yep.
Evolve, I think that was supposed to come out this month, or was it September? Either way, it was, I think it was October, but now it's 2015, so I'm like,
2015 is going to be a great year, especially if Zelda drops and Arkham Knight.
I know. Oh, just speaking of those games, just because Super Smash Bros. I picked from Best Buy. Remember when we were going to buy like 10,000 games from Best Buy because it was like the big deal there?
Yeah.
So I only have one order that went through, but I'm getting Evolve, Batman Arkham Knight, Super Smash Bros. Wii U, and Super Smash Bros. 3DS. 3DS came on the day that it launched. Like it came in today. I'm surprised that actually happened. I'm really happy, but I did not think that was going to happen.
I have almost $50 of credit sitting in the Nintendo eShop right now, so I'm contemplating downloading it. I don't know though. I don't really know if I'll play it enough. I want the Wii U version. I'm not thrilled about the 3DS one.
I haven't played it yet because I just got it now. I was wanting to prepare for the live stream, so
yeah.
I'll give you my thoughts on it, and then I'll let you know if it's actually worth it on the 3DS.
Yeah,
because it's a must-own type of thing.
Yeah, like if I'm only gonna buy one, I would rather have the console one for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know if they have both.
They have an adapter that you can use a GameCube controller as well for the Wii U.
Nice.
That's awesome. I hope that they allow us to use the GameCube controller for other games as well, not just Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
I'd like that. Because I like to play Zeldas with the GameCube controller. I just want to play everything with the GameCube controller, other than maybe like Mario Galaxy.
Yep. How about, no, and you know what, I'm not even going to say it because we'll end up talking about something different completely for 20 minutes. I'll just write it down and bring it up later.
Okay. All right. So, was there anything else that you want to talk about specifically about the Xbox 360? Okay, well, we should mention Kinect, just real quick.
Yeah.
Innovative, and it could be used. Microsoft has to figure out how to use it correctly. That's the only problem. It's not, and I don't think that they should try to incorporate it into big games. I think that they should make specific games here once in a while, and not have every game that is an exclusive have that. Maybe add them as an option, kind of like Rise on the Xbox One. You can use the controller for everything, but you can also use voice commands. That I'm okay with.
I think it should always be optional.
Yes. I think that they should make like some kind of game that has nothing to do with any other. Like I don't want it to be a Gears of War, a Halo Journey, the Fable Journey game. I want it to be something that's completely different from any of those franchises. That is a new property and uses just the Kinect fully, kind of like Child of Eden, where it was an on-rail shooter and you can use your hands and stuff, something like that.
Right. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like the Kinect, I think, was part good idea, part bad idea, just pretty flawed execution, at least for the first one, for the 360 era of Kinect. Mm-hmm. I'm on record saying that I think the Xbox One Kinect is a worthwhile piece of hardware to have. Mm-hmm. But the main things that I derive from the new Kinect are not the things that they really wanted it to be focused for. I'm more of a big fan of all the voice commands that it brings in. I'm a big fan of automatic sign-in features and having the camera integrated for Twitch streaming and different things like that. Like those are the things that I really like about it. It's not really even so much the motion gaming side. But I do think that there are applications like you were talking about that could still yet use it in good ways. So just need to figure out what they are.
Yeah, and the Just Dance games are actually really fun. Playing them, even just on the 360 version. That's the only time I actually used the Kinect, and it was just fun. So they need to come up with more games like that. I think they need to make like a Mario Party type of game with the Kinect.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be the best place for it, because it's mainly you want to be doing this with people around you, and a party game is exactly what you need. It's just that you need to really put a lot of time into it and make it not just like this mediocre game. They need to really strive and do everything they possibly can with the Kinect. And eventually it could happen. It's just it hasn't happened yet that I know of.
Yep, for sure. And actually, one application that they have on the Xbox One that I feel most people probably don't even realize is there is all the Xbox Fitness stuff that they've been doing. And I think that's an area, if they continue to work on that is something that the Xbox One could become very useful for. It's like the gaming device for the guy and, the yoga machine and whatnot, for the girlfriend or who isn't into video games or whatever. Like, I think there's stuff that can be drawn from that. I think fitness in general is just an area that having a camera that's telling you if you're doing things right is actually quite workable, and they don't have to be fast movements, which is key in my opinion. So
yeah, definitely, I fully agree with that, because the Wii Fit did amazing. That is so like mad. So and this is even better than Wii Fit because it's an actual, like you said, it's a camera. So there's a lot more detail that can go into that, and like you said, doing the proper motions with the camera watching you. That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's like trainers. Like I've actually used it a little bit. It's actually quite good. There's like a trainer, and there's like scores that you can build up, and you can either keep all of your data private if you don't want to have any of it out there, or you can go against leaderboards and stuff and push yourself against other people.
That's kind of cool.
It could be a motivational tool sort of thing. But the cool thing is there's like all of these fitness programs, and well-known ones like Insanity and P90X and all of these different things that they've put out there into Xbox Fitness, and you can literally just download them and do them.
I did not know that. I did not know that Insanity and P90X were on there. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
They see that's the kind of stuff that they should maybe mention. I mean, it's not really
It's
gaming
also
related, but it's cool. Yeah, like that's something that you could mention that people would be like, oh, well, that maybe I'm a little bit more interested now.
yeah,
I
like
had no idea about that.
and Xbox Fitness has been free to all Gold subscribers since the Xbox One launched.
And another thing I had no idea about. That's stuff that they should take a little bit of time instead of and Microsoft didn't do it this year, but I just found the Sony conference they wasted a little bit of time with stupid stuff. Anyway,
They would have been crucified if they even brought that up in the E3 conference.
probably yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it's not games. It's just more connectable shit.
True.
You know,
But they
everybody's
should
got
try
such a
to get it
negative
out there.
opinion.
Yeah. But then the other thing too, remember the price drop. That they should have come out with. That is game related, and that is totally something that they should have come out and said, there's a price drop, boom, have everybody cheer, and then show the games. And now we're only going to talk about games. They should have done that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Why not have that in your show? Like, I don't understand. Like, they leak it out the day before.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
I know. That was a huge thing that people would have picked up on. Everybody would have been talking about it, like huge from E3. Microsoft is dropping the price of the Xbox One, and everybody would have cheered when they said it. It would have just been like a really good way to start everything.
Or to close. Either or.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, here's all the stuff that's coming, and now it's only $100 less.
By the way, yeah.
Yeah. But you don't get the cam. You don't get the Kinect. So I think at some point or another, like obviously the Kinect is going to come out as a peripheral that you'll be able to buy for the people who don't have it.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see what the pricing will be. Phil Spencer seems to have indicated that it might actually be more than $100 now because they can save money by putting it in the bundle.
Right.
So I don't know whether people.
They'll have some kind of sale at some point, like a Black Friday, and maybe I'll pick it up then.
But it's the first time, like the first Kinect came out at like $130.
Yeah.
And then I think within like even despite how well it sold like 17 million units or something like that. As a peripheral, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But even despite all that, I think within like a year and a half they were selling for like $50.
I know. That baffles me. I mean, 17 million. That's huge. That if games sold that much, that's a huge win. That is one of the top selling games of all time.
There was obviously some interest, so it's not crazy to see why Microsoft thought baking it into the Xbox One was going to be a good idea for them.
Mm-hmm.
You can sort of see, where the thought process was there.
I think there was an interest, but then there was no games for it, and they would charge like full retail price for these games, and it's like, nah, it's not a real game, man. It's not worth $60 a pop. So I think that they should have charged $30 for these games, or if they did charge $30, have the content there, have like a crazy long experience thing.
I think what they need maybe is like a section for the arcade that's like all downloadable Kinect, and that's where you get your Kinect experiences from if you want the motion gaming.
Yeah, I can see that.
Stop forcing it through retail, because obviously people like the people who want it can find it in the store.
Yeah.
Right, like in the downloadable store. I think that might be the best way to deliver it, but you still have to have developers willing to actually create those games, right? So, and I think they're in a hard position now because they were like, oh, Kinect is really important, and now it's like, oh, Kinect's not that important. So what do the developers think?
Yeah, and I fully agree with you there. And we talked about before that what they need to do is Microsoft has to take the reins on that, make the game, show everybody that Kinect is useful. The developers will, you build it and they will come.
Yeah. Yep.
So
where do you want to go next? PS3?
Let's go with PS3. Yeah.
All right.
Did you want to start this one off? I started off with 360. So.
Sure. I also bought this at launch. It put a huge dent in my wallet. $649, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, in Canada. Really? I thought it was a little bit more in Canada. I thought it was like 700 I could be wrong.
I
didn't pick it up at launch because of the price. Yeah. I just remember it being crazy high.
I was really not keen on the PS3 when I picked it up, and it sounds funny because I did spend like $700 or whatever it was to pick the system up at the time. But I bought it because at the time that it launched, it was the best Blu-ray player on the market.
That's true. Yeah.
Not necessarily strictly from a drive standpoint, because it was comparable to a lot of other machines on that level. But it was one of the only Blu-ray players that you could get, especially under $1,000, that was capable of receiving firmware updates over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's a huge selling point to have a Blu-ray player that also plays video games. Like that, when that came out, that was a huge selling point, I find.
It took me a while to really get into the game side of it. But once I did, I loved the system basically from that point. The first game I got was Heavenly Sword.
Okay, yeah.
Which I can't say I was a big fan of. But there were a lot of good games that came after that. And I'll mention what some of my favorites were after.
Yep. Oh, after?
Well, I didn't know if you were going to mention when you got yours.
I got mine. I got mine just a few years ago. So I think I got mine in the summer of 2011, right when I started doing this channel. And what led me to buy it finally is I was waiting for there to be a bunch of exclusives, because at the time I knew I was still going to be playing multi-platforms on 360. So I wanted there to be a bunch of games that I really wanted for the system. And I think the 2011 E3. They showed The Last Guardian and Twisted Metal, and I was like, this is gonna be. Yeah, we still don't have it.
The game that gets you to buy a PS3 is not even out on the PS4 yet.
Exactly, yeah. Thankfully, Twisted Metal did come out, but it was postponed by a year, which was fine. I mean, I have it now. And Twisted Metal wasn't as. It's good, but it's not as good as I guess the trailer would be. Not that they really showed different stuff, but I got the feeling that, man, this is just going to be crazy online. And it's crazy in the sense that there's a lot of explosions, but it's not a game that I really like playing a lot online. I liked playing the single-player game, but anyway. So I got it in 2011, so just a few years ago, basically at the tail end of its lifespan. And I think my first game, pardon me?
A good time to get it.
Yeah, because it was really cheap at the time. I think that the first game I played was either Uncharted or Resistance 1. Either way, I was really happy with. And then I continued to get Uncharted 2 and Resistance 2 because at the time they were already out, so I got those sequels right away. In the span of a few months, I played through Resistance 1, 2, 3, and Uncharted 1, 2, 3 because Uncharted 3 was releasing later on that fall. Same with Resistance 3. And I enjoyed the heck out of both of those. New series, and I really liked. I don't really play a lot of first-person shooters now, other than specific series, but I really enjoyed Resistance, and I have the best first-person shooters. I will probably even say that I like the campaigns more of Resistance than Halo. It's just the multiplayer for Halo for me is like all the way to the ceiling,
yeah,
type of thing. I just loved those. I don't know. It wasn't really even the storyline was interesting, but it was just really fun to play those campaigns. And then Uncharted, my God, that series alone, I think. And a lot of people say that Uncharted 2 and 3 are where it's at, and even more so Uncharted 2, and I'll agree with that. But Uncharted 1 is still awesome. And if you've never played the Uncharted games, when you get to halfway point, and there's not a huge thing, but the game is more the story. There's more to the storyline than meets the eye. I don't want to spoil anything, but do you know what I'm talking about, Kevin? That there's okay. I just thought I was like, whoa! I thought I was just playing this regular Indiana Jones type game, and then they added in in every one of these games. After the first time, you kind of expected in the other ones too, but you're like, whoa! I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah, I might actually be in the minority here. But to me, Uncharted 2 is definitely the best of the Uncharteds in my opinion. It's actually one of my
Yeah.
5 games that I wrote down. Um, but then I consider Uncharted. I consider the
It's
first
just
one better than the third. What's that? Hmm. Oh. Not sure if it's me or if it's you.
Oh, is it
Mm,
back?
you are. I'm not. I don't. You're not 100% back.
Okay, so it dropped out on me then.
I think so, but I'm not positive. I'm trying to watch the YouTube stream to
That's
actually
what I was
verify
gonna
that.
I was doing too.
Yeah.
I think it conked out on me.
Yeah, I think mine was okay.
Okay, how about I'm just gonna go see if I can change that and is there anything specific you could talk about until I'm gone? Go through the games. Go through.
Yeah. Uh,
Through. Go
sure.
through. Talk
I'll figure
about.
something out. Hmm?
Okay, name me a few of the games, and I'll tell you which series to talk about. Just, so your favorite games, and because then I'll come back and I'll be like, because I have if I haven't played it, I can't really talk about it because there's
Right.
certain series I would like to have a conversation with. So yeah, just name a few.
Um. Okay. Well, Uncharted 2, Little Big Planet 2,
Yeah.
um, Ratchet and Clank, Tools of Destruction, and A Crack in Time, which are two of my favorite games of the entire generation. Um, and Hot Shots Golf Out of Bounds, which I played the crap out of.
So talk about Ratchet and Clank because I've never played those games, so I wouldn't be able to have much input. And maybe talk about Hot Shots too, although I wouldn't talk about Hot Shots when you're done talking about Ratchet and Clank. I'll be gone for like 1 minute.
Okay.
Fair
Just remember
enough.
the last time. Yeah, I remember the last time you took off.
Did I
Yeah,
disappear
go
for
ahead.
a long time?
Hmm?
Did I disappear for a long time? When did it disappear last time?
No, I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think so. All right.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna see if I can do anything.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so Tools of Destruction. I don't know if anybody's ever played the uh, old Ratchet and Clank games, like the PS2 era ones. Tools of Destruction isn't exactly like those ones. It's more different in. I just didn't feel it played the same way at all, which was a bit of a letdown in some ways. But I got past that pretty fast because not only is the game uh, gorgeous, both of the two of them. They're just phenomenal looking games. Um, but on top of that, I just feel like there aren't a lot of games on any of the systems these days that have the same sort of humorous atmosphere that Insomniac is kind of known for. Oh, and he's back.
I am.
This time you're
So
actually
where were
going to
you?
be real proud of the minute that I put together there versus the last time that you took off and I basically I just did nothing the entire time you were gone.
Really?
Um,
I don't
this
think
was
I've
like a
ever
while
seen
back.
that.
This was a while
Oh,
back.
okay.
Like
Okay.
month I'm probably like a year. And it's like, oh, okay, you're going. And then I think I whistled for part of it. It was bad. But I just didn't
Oh
know
my
what to
god.
talk about, so um,
Whereas this time you actually had stuff to talk about.
I was talking about Ratchet and Clank, and I love Ratchet
Yeah.
and Clank. So, um,
I have to play those games. Have you played the HD versions of them by chance?
I haven't. Um,
Okay.
I'd like to get them, but again, I don't have a PS3, so.
Yeah.
Are they available on the Vita?
Yes, I believe they are.
Because I would buy that on the Vita. I would give
One
my
of the
Vita a
games
purpose.
that's on the Vita. I was wondering though, because I want to get into that series. Should I start with the original trilogy and then move to the PS3s, or could I start with the PS3s? Like, is there?
I don't think it matters.
No.
Honestly, I would jump in at Tools of Destruction, which was the first PS3 one.
Okay.
And that game was just so much fun. And the weapons are kooky. The game has just a humorous atmosphere, and the characters are really well done, and it's colorful, and it's just a great game.
It seems like I've never played it, but it looks like Nintendo could have made this, and it would have been really successful for Nintendo as well. Like it seems like that
Absolutely.
kind of game.
There are not many games on the PS3 and or Xbox 360 that have the same sort of life that I think Ratchet and Clank does. I really like it, and I think it'll actually make a very good movie.
Oh yeah, that's true. Eh? They're making a bunch of movies from the PlayStation era.
Yeah, so
Are we gonna get a Crash Bandicoot game? A movie, I mean.
I don't know.
Not that actually, I don't think that they could do a Craig Crash movie. Anyway, I just thought of it because I really like Crash.
I know
the games.
Yeah, I know Insomniac made the Resistance games as well for the PS3, but to me, the Ratchet and Clank games are they're the definitive Insomniac franchise. Like those games are just they're great.
Yeah.
But again, not really much of a shooter guy, so totally biased.
Understand.
Totally biased. There's actually a downloadable Ratchet and Clank game, which is a lot of fun too. It's Quest for Booty, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a lot of fun as well, and it's probably pretty damn cheap these days. Even when I bought it, when it came out, and it fits kind of between Tools of Destruction and A Crack in Time. Even when I bought it, I think it was only like $15. So these days it's probably way cheaper than that. But yeah, Tools of Destruction is the place to start. That's my opinion.
Okay. I will keep that in mind.
Yeah, so those are my games.
Okay. I was actually surprised that you didn't mention. Not that it's a game that I could see myself going back to a lot, but I think that meant a lot to me when it came out was Flower and Journey. Those two games were just. They're really short, and I've only played them a handful of times. Like I put less than 10 hours for each of those games, but they're just an experience, and I find that you don't get a lot of experiences like that for gaming. Once in a while, you can play a game and feel like that. If we ever had like Oscars for video games as art, Journey and Flower would hit those definitely. And they're some of the few games that I would recommend that everybody that is into gaming needs to experience at some point in time.
I wrestled with putting Journey on this 5-game list. And if I was going to, it would be over Hot Shots. But the reason I think I went with Hot Shots is just because of the sheer amount of gameplay that I got out of that game. Whereas, you said yourself, Journey is a little short, right? Phenomenal game, but I don't think I got enough time out of it necessarily to bump any of those.
No, and I completely agree with you. That's true. If you're going for like the amount of hours, definitely all those other games would definitely be much higher on that list. It's just when I was thinking back on like the PS3 that have to be played type of thing. And another one too would be The Last of Us, but like we were talking about earlier, you've only played that on the PS4, so but you pretty much played the same game. So
yeah, like I just felt it would be a little odd for me to put it as one of my favorite PS3 games because I didn't have it for the PS3. So yeah.
It's up there though. Anything that Naughty Dog touches is just gold.
Yep.
And they can do anything. They can do like crazy platformers, Crash Bandicoot. And then they can have like more adventure and story-driven, funny with Jak and Daxter. And then they up it up a notch with Uncharted again, and a little bit more serious, but still really funny and adventurous. And then Last of Us, that's like really dark and like very story-driven, and messes with your mind. And it's just like boom, they're just freaking awesome.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see what the impact of some of the people leaving is on the studio going forward. Hopefully minimal.
What's happened? Why are they? I know that they're split. They split up like groups for working on like Last of Us and the other Uncharted. They did that, but there's people leaving.
There's been, I think, 2 or 3 different stories of fairly prominent members of Naughty Dog actually leaving the company.
And why?
Or one of them was forced out. Was, I think, the writer for the Uncharted games.
What? Have they disclosed why that these people are leaving? Or
my understanding, and I could be off on this. This is just, I think, what's been relayed to me or bits that I've read. I think it was a woman. I don't know what her name was. But she'd done the writing, I believe, for the later Uncharted games for sure. And she was tasked with starting to do the Uncharted 4 stuff. And a couple other guys within the company didn't like the direction she was taking it, so they basically forced her out.
That's stupid.
So I don't know. I'm not even sure how you would search that, but
yeah. That's if you've had this person that's done a good job. It's not like anybody's saying negative things about Naughty Dog. That rarely ever happens. If it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay. Was there anything else I want to talk about on PS3? I really like that at the end we had a bunch of RPGs that started, showing up, like the Tales series, Ni no Kuni. That was a big one. I really like that. That was successful. Like RPGs nowadays, unless you're Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Now, it's almost like starting with maybe Operation Rainfall even. It's just in the last generation, at the very end, there is this like little push that we want niche RPGs, but we want like big games like Ni no Kuni, Last Story, Xenoblade Chronicles, Bravely Default. I know that's 3DS, but it's just these little success stories here and there, and big franchise, And PS3 really helped that along because they pump out a lot of RPGs in the last few years anyway.
I'm fighting the urge to drag this conversation back to Legend of Dragoon.
Go right ahead. More Legend of Dragoon is never a bad thing. God, I love that game. I started replaying it again this summer. Oh man. I was playing video games and I was like, okay, I always kind of like have I have a little bit of OCD, so when I'm starting a game, I want to beat it, and I have a few games on the go at a time, and then sometimes I'm like, I have like 4 games or something, and I'm like, I should really work on these games, but I'm not feeling them right now. So, and I was like, I'm gonna stop that. I'm just gonna play whatever game that I want to play. I don't care if I'm gonna end up playing 10 games. That's what happened. I ended up just any game that I had the urge to play, I would play. Yeah. It created a mess in terms of playing like 10 games at once, but I'm playing a lot more that way. But I ended up playing 3 of my favorite games of all time this summer, and I was juggling between those and the Xbox One. So I was playing Skyrim, Final Fantasy IX, and Legend of Dragoon. It was a mess. It was just. And then I got the Xbox One, and I was God, I didn't beat any of those games.
Legend of Dragoon. It's so perfect for the Vita too. Were you playing it on the Vita?
No, just on the PS3.
You should transfer your save over onto your Vita and play it on there.
Probably.
That's the way to go. It's so perfect on there. It just I love playing it on the Vita. I haven't finished it on there. Amy Hennig was the name of the Naughty Dog creative director.
Okay. Holy crap, the creator director. No, I've heard about this. Oh my god.
Creative director and writer on the Uncharted series.
That sucks.
Sources claim Hennig was forced out by Last of Us Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, and explained that Uncharted may now come under their control. So, like, it's going to be in good hands if it's the people who did The Last of Us, but it might lose the Uncharted charm to some degree.
Yeah, it could happen, yeah.
So, who knows? I'll be interested to see what happens. They're clearly still talented, people. It's just be interesting because it's not the only departure I think they had over the summer. There were a few.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. That sucks. What I wanted to mention too, I completely forgot. God damn it.
Yeah, that's my fault.
What was it?
We were talking about Legend of Dragoon.
Yeah, and how amazing that game is.
Yeah.
Okay, what we have? You wanted to turn this into Legend of Dragoon. What did you want to talk about Legend of Dragoon specifically? There it is.
Oh, my big thing was that you were talking about all these RPGs and stuff like that. Like, it seems to me that Sony should be embracing the fact that they have a first-party RPG that they could roll out at any given time without requiring a third-party studio to step up to the plate.
Yep.
So, like...
And yet, yeah.
I don't even care about a sequel, okay? Like, whatever. Sequel's never going to happen. Like, we'll just wash our hands at that. Give me a remake.
But they were working on a sequel, so that makes me think that, they could have continued, and I think that, and this kind of ties into the next point I want to make, too, here, because I want to talk about PlayStation All-Stars, because that was kind of like a miss, I find. It wasn't horrible. It's just that it was like Super Smash Brothers is huge, and PlayStation All Stars, like in 2 weeks, it was down to like $10 on Black Friday. Granted, it was Black Friday, but $10 2 weeks after the launch, Super Smash Brothers would never do that, And it still didn't really help. $10, and people were like, yeah, I think I'll pay $30 for the next Call of Duty instead.
I'll wait for it to go down to $5.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait for them to pay me.
Give it to me on PlayStation Plus, and then I'll think about it. I think they did actually end up doing that.
Yeah, they did. They were supposed to have Dart in PlayStation All-Stars. Not only would that have been a good idea to, help the game, having an extra character that from the beginning of PlayStation that's really popular. So it could have helped the game itself, but also it could have renewed interest into Legend of Dragoon, and then they could have, with this new surge of like really people wanting RPGs, bring back a game that has done really well. You've remade so many games in HD.
Yep.
Do Legend of Dragoon in HD. See if there's like a market out there for it, which it looks like there is. Everybody has said good things about Legend of Dragoon when it came out, and it's had a cult following since then. And a bunch of people are getting into RPGs now, and they want things that are not Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy hasn't had a good game in a long time, probably since 10. Arguably, they haven't had a good game since 10 that everybody was really happy with. Then you could see, okay, we're going to make this HD game. It's not that hard. You just have to remake it. Storyline's the same. And then if there's enough people that buy it, you can make a sequel and then make more money. It's just, please, somebody understand this. Somebody at Sony.
And you know what? I think to a degree Microsoft might be doing that right now with Conquer. Like, everybody was like up in arms. It's like, oh, they threw Conquer into Project Spark so they don't have to make a Conquer game. But they didn't have to make a Conquer game one way or another. So putting him in Project Spark, I'm not sure is necessarily a play to appease Conquer fans who'd like to see him come back. I think it's them trying to get people to vocalize that they want Conquer back a little more. If they see it, then they might go for it.
Because out of the three companies, right now, Microsoft is strangely the one listening to the fans the most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
and
in the position that they
that's
have
weird
to.
for me to say. Yeah, they have no choice at this point. But that's still, regardless, it's still that's weird to be saying. And I think that, man, if we could say Legend of Dragoon should be remade on the Xbox One, Microsoft would be like, well, maybe,
They might have a point.
if they get enough people,
Buy the rights
add in
from
the Kinect things if you want. Just as long as I have the option of not playing it with Kinect.
pay Sony's operating loss for the quarter for the rights to Legend of Dragoon.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Oh God,
So that's probably a pretty big operating loss. It might not be worth it.
It'd be worth it in my eyes, but I'd be like one of the few. You and me would be like, yeah, do it, Microsoft.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
That'd be awesome.
So I've got to go in about like, I don't know, 15 minutes. So, but
sure.
that gives us enough time to talk about like at least the Wii and multiplats too. So.
Yep.
I think we've said everything for 360 and PS3. Was there anything else that you wanted to say about them, other than them? They should Legend of Dragoon, but that's not about PS3. That's about PS4. So.
Yeah, well, I would say we can move on from those.
Okay, the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
So the Wii, like I said, was something that it had its place. I never wanted to play multi-platforms on there. Dear God, I did not want to touch a multi-platform on there. Ever. A PS3, I would do it. I'd have Xbox 360, but every once in a while I would play a multi-platform on the PS3 because it's relatively the same thing.
Yep.
But dear God, the Wii, not as powerful, but it had its place. It was really different with the motion controls, and it worked well for some games. Some games like nailed it, and those would probably be some of our favorite games.
Yep.
But there was, and they brought back a few things too, but it wasn't the same. Like I like that they listened to the fans. We hadn't had a really big Donkey Kong game that was the true successor to Donkey Kong 64. So like finally, okay, let's make Donkey Kong Country Returns. It was good, but it didn't have the same feeling as the old ones. Like, I'm still happy that they made it, but it's just it wasn't the exact same.
DK64 sort of. That sort of influence of, DK game would be awesome on the Wii U, like a 3D.
Oh yeah.
Platformer version, like not platform. I'm not sure exactly what I'm trying to say. There's a very big difference between DK64 and Donkey Kong Country, obviously, right? Like
yes. Yeah.
Played very, very different. Kind of like.
Yeah. It's the 2D side-scrolling, whereas it's the third perspective. I don't know. Is that a third? It's third person because it's Super Mario 64 is a third-person game. Same thing with Donkey Kong 64, Mario Galaxy, which I have to say is Mario Galaxy nailed it with the controls and is one of the best games not only for the Wii but of that generation. Not only for that generation, one of my favorite games of all time. Seriously, Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. My God, are those good games? Those two games are my favorite Mario games. Beat Super Mario 3, Super Mario World, 64. I know it's a huge statement, but the other ones, there's a few of them that are close, and then other Mario games that are like really low. But for me, Galaxy I love it.
Well, Galaxy 1 and 2 are both on my list. Now, I've actually technically got 6 games for the Wii U.
Okay,
for the Wii, but I put Galaxy 1 and 2 kind of as one game because they're just a direct continuation. They're kind of one thing.
Yeah.
But I don't remember where I started with that.
I was saying that they were my favorite games, and I think that you were saying that they are your favorite Wii games.
Yeah, I think when you were saying that they're your favorite Mario games, I still think Super Mario 64 probably takes the crown for me. But I got to it's so close. How do you even choose?
Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. That's why I'm saying that there's a lot of other ones that are very close. But man, I just remember thinking of a game like Mario 64 has nostalgia added to it. But then I'm thinking Mario Galaxy isn't that old, and I just think back and I had a blast with those games.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For me, 64, I don't know. I don't know. There's just I think it probably has a lot to do with the fact of it being the first 3D and stuff. Like I'll probably always it doesn't even matter what they come out with. Probably it'll just be like that's the definitive Mario game for me.
Yeah.
Like and like TikTok clock and stuff. Like that's like the most ridiculous platform design that you'll ever find.
Yeah. It's so crazy to think that they were like, okay, we're gonna finally go away from the side-scrolling Mario's and make this third-person game that nobody's ever done before, really, and they just like boom, and it's amazing. It is like the best type of game. They just I can't believe how well they did with that game. So and I have no problem like almost any Mario game as long as it's in the main series there. You can say is like one of the best games of all time, or one of the best Mario games.
You can make the argument, and not many people will give you a look. That's just like, well, fair enough. That's a pretty fair opinion.
Pardon me?
Well, pretty much anybody would just say you could choose any number of Mario games, and you're going to have a large number of people who agree with you, and you're going to have a large number of people who don't necessarily agree, but don't think your opinion is wrong either.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, right? They'll be like, well, I think it's this, but man, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So what else do you have?
Donkey Kong Returns, which we kind of touched on already.
And it is good. It is good. It's just there's something magical for me for the Super Nintendo games, not necessarily the 64 one, but the Super Nintendo, because that's what Donkey Kong Country Returns is about. It's not the third person, it's the side scrolling. So
Super Paper Mario.
I haven't played that. So
I love that.
Okay, I'll add it to the list.
Twilight Princess.
Yep.
And Skyward Sword, #1. That's like I know a lot of people who would give me a hard time over this, but it's my game of the generation. I absolutely love that game. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm a sucker for Zelda. So you probably it's not it's not totally a matter of being a sucker for Zelda though, because I wouldn't put Twilight Princess in my top 5 of the generation, despite the fact that it's a Zelda game.
For the Wii, or are you talking about just the generation? That generation.
For the full generation, it's definitely in my top 5 Wii games. It's probably It's probably right behind Galaxy.
Oh, really? Galaxy's like really high up there for last generation for me. There's not too many games that, for me, that would be above it. Like Galaxy, probably my top 5 for last generation.
See, like to me, everything that Galaxy proved to be good about motion control for the Mario games.
Yeah.
Twilight Princess does the exact same thing on Zelda, but like to me, the difference between Skyward Sword and Galaxy, they both accomplish the same thing in their genre for the Wii, but like Skyward Sword is here and Galaxy is like here.
Okay.
Which is crazy because I love both of the games. It's just Zelda takes the crown every time.
And I still haven't played Skyward Sword. I can say I've played Twilight Princess, so I know what you're talking about for that game, at least.
Yeah, I'm actually playing through Wind Waker HD right now. I'm almost finished. I'm having a lot of fun with that too. But now I'm gonna need like Zelda, like the Zelda Wii U, and I don't want to wait.
I know, right? Yeah.
Might be a problem.
You have enough games that'll hold you over until then. Trust me. There's going to be a few fall games here, I'm sure.
Well, Shadow of Mordor, I got to start that later. So
there you go.
And I'm going to get Crackdown. I will definitely buy Crackdown. We can play on 360.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, what else is on your list? So Galaxies, Zeldas.
That was them.
Kong. Oh, okay. It was just, okay, yeah. And see, mine is very similar, and like there's a bunch. I have a bunch of Wii games, but they're not. They held their purpose, but they weren't amazing. It was. I like that they existed, but they're not just. I don't know. There's just not something about them that made me go, oh, like you have to have the Wii to play these games. If you have a Wii, definitely pick them up because they're worth checking out. But there wasn't a lot of like key specific games. I talked about Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. We played those before. So if we were talking about the 64, I would definitely mention Super Smash Brothers. But Brawl was my least favorite of the three at that point.
I actually...
Mario Party's huge decline.
Mm.
For me, anyway.
The Smash Brothers games have declined as they've moved along. Like, I honestly liked the original better than Melee, and then I like Melee better than Brawl, and I'm hoping that just doesn't continue. But I have high hopes for this one because of like the leveling system and stuff that they've actually put in, which is all new and all good, and customization and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, this has some potential.
Mm-hmm. So. One other game that I really want to mention, and because I know that you need to play it, is The Last Story. My God, that game. It's just because there's glimpses in there that remind me a little bit of like Legend of Dragoon, a little bit. So like the battle system is really different, but it's not a Legend of Dragoon thing. But it's so different that it makes me think of like when I played Legend of Dragoon, and just some of the characters are a little bit similar. A little bit. There's just a few similarities here and there, but it's completely its own game. The music is fantastic. It's one of the best soundtracks that I've heard in I don't know how long. Like for an RPG, it's perfect. I'll listen to it when I'm not even playing the game. I just love it. Like I love that soundtrack. It's a relatively short game. It took me 25 hours to beat, so it's not too long for an RPG. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't feel like it's rushed or anything like that. You get the whole story, and it's really fun. And the battle system is just so fun. You create these circles, and you use them to you stay in the circle to either get like an upgrade, like fire weapons, or like you can heal if you stay in that circle. Or you can attack the circle, and then it kind of explodes. And if it's a fire, but then like there's going to be a huge explosion there that attacks the enemies, or everybody in the party, even if they're not in the circle. So it's just a lot of interesting things like that, and I just love The Last Story. So that's definitely one of my top 5 for the week.
RPGs just you have to have so much time to put into RPGs. I know. I would love to play it though. Like it's like I've got
25 hours
sitting over there, and I haven't friggin' opened it.
It's 25 hours, Kevin. You can do this. It's not that bad.
Wow. Yeah.
It's still up there, but it's at least not 50 hours, right?
So it's not Bravely Default.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. Like
Bravely Default. Yeah, about 60 or something like that.
Yeah, it's actually literally sitting on my dresser over there. Bravely Default in the packaging. I just haven't.
I suggest Last Story more than Bravely Default. Some people might disagree. I know my girlfriend would disagree, and maybe Jason would disagree, but I loved The Last Story. And I think that it's more up your alley.
Yeah.
It's short too, right? So there's so many more positives for The Last Story.
That's the big bonus for sure. It
took me 20 hours game time to beat the game. It's just an extra 5 hours for like a few times that I died, and I only died near the end. And you don't really have to grind. Which is nice, until the end is when I needed to grind for I think 45 minutes. That's all that So there's not like no time wasted. Just boom, boom, boom. Next chapter, next chapter, next chapter, and it doesn't.
That's very kind of Legend of Dragoon, because I never really felt.
Yeah.
I never really felt like you had to go off and do that in Legend of Dragoon. And I know some people actually complain about that, like if the game is a little too linear and it doesn't require you to go off and do those things.
Yeah.
I don't actually mind. I know that was one of the big complaints with Final Fantasy 13. It's like, there's like nowhere to grind. It's like everything's just all the way through. And I like some of my favorite games are like that. Like I can get past that. Like
same.
That's not a big problem.
I don't grind. I'm older. I don't have as much time, so grinding isn't like super fun to me anymore. When I was younger, it was kind of fun, but because I had more time. Now it's just like, man, I just want to get through the game. As bad as it sounds, because I only have a limited amount of time.
Yep.
Throughout the week that I can allot to these things. So, if less grinding is going to keep my attention. So anyway, Bravely Default, you have to grind, but they do it in such a way that it makes grinding okay, and that's a positive for Bravely Default. But anyway, so I got to get going soon. So for the Wii, is there anything else that you wanted to add? I also think Operation Rainfall was really cool too, and just the tie-in with Xenoblade and Last Story and Pandora's Tower.
The only other thing that I would throw in there is behind games like Skyward Sword and Galaxy, which kind of defined the motion controls and what they should have been for all the big titles, really. I would say the most influential software that the Wii U ever saw was definitely Wii Sports. I mean, Wii. I keep saying Wii U. Wii Sports, for better or for worse, because it kind of spawned this whole, motion gaming across to the other platforms. Things like the Move.
It was damn fun.
It was all based off, the success of Wii Sports.
Yeah.
That's what propelled it. If Wii Sports had flopped at the start and not pushed all those units that it did, we never would have seen the Kinect or the Move.
Yeah, I fully agree with that, because they did a really good job with that. It was fun playing just by yourself, going through these games, and I actually put probably quite a lot of hours, like not even thinking of it. Just I had like Twilight Princess. I had a few other games at the beginning. Galaxy wasn't out at the time. And I was like, man, I just keep going back to Wii Sports. I had Twilight Princess in my hands, and I had another few games that were big enough at the time. And I was like, nope, I'm going back to Wii Sports because it was fun.
In fairness, Twilight Princess is in my top 5 games, but if it wasn't a Zelda game, it probably wouldn't be. Yeah. Because as much as I love Twilight Princess, the Wii version of it is kind of infuriating because the controls didn't work very well.
Yeah.
Not like they did in Skyward Sword. My rating of Twilight Princess being in my top 5 Wii games is probably more of an indictment of the Wii catalog than it is a strength of Twilight Princess, because I feel Twilight Princess was a much better game on the GameCube than it was on the Wii.
Well, I was just gonna say, because you can actually play the Wii version with a GameCube controller.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to use. So that might completely change your outlook on the game.
Oh, okay, then the Wii one is actually quite good then.
Okay.
I never thought the Wii controls worked particularly well on the game.
Yeah. So that's, you can use the extension that they have for the Wii Pro controller or whatever, but you can also just plug in your GameCube controller as well and play with that. So
yeah, for sure. Rapid fire multiplats?
Yes, yeah. Rapid fire. That sounds good to me. And you go with your list, and then I'll add in. Oh, I still have a little bit of time that we can talk about specific games there, but.
Oh, okay, cool. Tomb Raider.
Yep.
Arkham City.
Yep.
Arkham Asylum, because they were both phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
BioShock Infinite.
Okay.
Burnout Paradise.
Oh, okay. That's different. Okay.
Prototype. Mass Effect. Yeah. Well, actually, I should have said Mass Effect 2. Portal 2, Dark Souls, and Red Dead Redemption.
You liked Red Dead?
Yeah.
That makes me so happy. I don't know why.
Which is funny because I'm not a big GTA fan.
Yeah, that's probably why. I just
though, in some ways.
It's true.
And not in others.
So my list is almost exactly identical to yours. We almost nailed all of the same, Batman's, BioShock. I haven't played Arkham City though, and I haven't played Infinite, but I played BioShock 1. And what is it? Would you kindly? Is that the saying for BioShock 1?
Oh.
Is it Would You Kindly?
I don't
Either
know.
way, that was a cool storyline part that I did not expect, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
That was awesome. That's good story, and that not only that, but that's a good first-person shooter because it was kind of like you just don't run and gun. You kind of walk around. You see a big guy. You're like, crap.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
Do I attack it or do I kind of screw off for a while, or it's good if I use everything to take him down. And the ending too, depending on what you do with the big daddy, with the souls and stuff, the little girls, it's just everything tied in so nicely. BioShock 1 is a freaking awesome game. I just love that game.
Yeah, no doubt.
Red Dead, I just loved. Grand Theft Auto 5, when you play that on, if you get it on the Xbox One, Kev, you're gonna love it. It's freaking awesome.
I will probably get it, but I'm not sure if I'll get it right away. I'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so that's Black Friday is when I'm hoping to get it, or Christmas, around Christmas, Boxing Day maybe. But the one that I have to say, because it's probably my favorite game of all time, and that's Skyrim. The Elder Scrolls V was just, I don't know. That's just, you can create a second life from playing that game.
I find it funny, like, because Skyrim and Skyward Sword dropped like right at the same time, and or pretty much. So because of all the attention Skyrim was getting, like Skyward Sword kind of got swept under the rug a little bit. So I have it out for Skyrim. Like I just
Yeah.
In fairness, it's just not my kind of game. But like,
have you tried it though?
I've played a bit of it. Not probably enough to form a reasonable opinion though.
Yeah. The game is just so huge. You can basically do anything. And I just feel like it really had the sense that it's no longer, it's still a game, but man, it just felt like there's this, the complete world, and it's gigantic, and there's so much in here, so much detail, for all the dungeons are different, so it doesn't feel like it's the same dungeon every time that you're going in, just changed a little bit. Like, they had different teams working on specific dungeons, so they all felt different. They had, in-game things that will just randomly happen if you walk upon it. So it feels like you're actually in this world. It's a living, breathing world, and it's just, I love it.
I guess for me, it was probably a large part of the reason that I didn't really jump onto Skyrim is I'm just not a big fan of Bethesda. At least the games they've made in the past, I can't really say I've ever gotten into anything they've made. Whether it's Elder Scrolls or Fallout or like any of the things. So I was just like, it's just going to be another Bethesda game, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Like if you play Brink or like, there's a few, they made another, like a few games here and there that wouldn't be like one of the big titles either, and it's like, meh.
Yeah.
But Skyrim is just, I love that game. And I think we should mention that also Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty. The only thing that's unfortunate about those games is that they come up with a new one every year, and it's like, man, I know that you're still making crazy money, but...
Yeah, you don't give us any time to actually miss the games.
Yes, exactly. I've been wanting to get into the Assassin's Creed series for so long. I beat the first one, and people say that the first one is crap. And I was like, man, it's okay. I actually really liked it. And
By comparison? Yeah, it really is. The second one takes it up such a notch.
And that's what I've heard, but like and then I got Assassin's Creed 2, but then I heard that they were making another one like that year that I picked it up. Like 2 months later, not even 2 months. It was like a few weeks after they announced that they were making it. Like when I picked up Assassin's Creed 2, a few weeks after they announced that they were making another one for that later that year, and I was like, okay, well, I got a few other games to work on anyway, and then. Ever since then, every year you're not letting me want to really jump into this because I'm going to have so many games to get to the new one, you know?
There's like 6 of them.
I know! Like, the first game came out in 2007. And then at 2009, just boom, 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 boom. Every year after that. 2 years...
In fairness, though, I'll probably pick up Unity because it looks awesome. And it's it's online co-op, which is probably more enticing for me to actually play it too. Yeah,
co-op, because they had multiplayer before, and the multiplayer looked pretty interesting. I really wanted to try them out, but I just never got around to it. And really, I will pick up probably. Like, I still want to play all the. Know when to start. I like apparently Assassin's Creed 2 is like one of the best ones, so it'll just like get me right into it. I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed. It's just when they started announcing a new one every year. Same thing with Call of Duty. I like the Call of Duty campaigns. I have my problems with the multiplayer, but it's still like there's a lot of negative things about the multiplayer because it's not exactly. I find that the hit detection that's a whole other conversation. But there's positives and negatives. It's easy to pick up the Call of Duty games, but like there's a new one every year. you're not giving us time to really miss them. And another thing too is that the campaigns, while they're awesome and they have epic moments, it's the same thing every year. You're not giving us like, I'm not going to think it's epic anymore by the fifth time that I'm playing this crazy thing where like things are happening.
And they are short.
Oh yeah,
They really are. But that's part of that whole thing we were kind of talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was during the live stream or right before the live stream.
I think it was right before. Yeah. I don't think we mentioned it.
That single player campaigns are just, they're kind of, going away, and I'm really hoping that's a trend that stops and goes the other direction.
Yeah.
Because multiplayer gaming is great, all these online games and things like Titanfall and stuff. But you have to, I'm a firm believer in single player, offline experiences.
If you want a series to survive, and if you want there to be nostalgia and love for a specific series, you have to have a story. Titanfall needed a story, in my opinion, to stay. Like 20 years from now, are we going to be talking about Titanfall? Depending on how good the campaign, depending on how good the multiplayer is for each one of the sequels that they'll make. But that's not enough. I like any game that we talk about with high regard usually encompasses some kind of a storyline, some kind of characters that we really got ourselves attached to. There's nobody in Titanfall that you can get attached to. Nobody. There's kind of like a storyline, but it's online, and I was really not paying attention to it. I played the campaign with Jason, actually, and I was like, this is not the greatest game. I really don't like this. Then I played just the multiplayer by itself, and it was awesome. Once you stop playing the campaign mode, it's just the campaign is so bad. This little bit of a storyline that they have is just, God, Kevin, I wish you could have experienced it, because they try to make it like this epic moment, like this guy was like about to die, and you're really not paying attention because they're explaining this as you're battling. Like you're going around and shooting people, and they have like this little TV screen that's like the size of, I don't know, like this big, and like just over your screen while you're shooting, and they're trying to like explain stuff and storyline. And this guy's like about to die. I'm never gonna I would never betray. I can't remember what he said, but he's kind of like saying that like I'm never gonna join your side or something, and like he was about to die. And I was like, I don't even know this kid. This is the first time I see this character.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah, and you
it's
look
too bad.
Yeah, you look at the games that we that we talk about as the best games, and I agree with you 100%. Like a lot of the ones that really stick out are the games that had characters and stories. I just went through my list here, and out of 5 Wii, 5 360, 5 PS3, and 10 multiplats, so 25 games on the list here.
Yeah.
20 of them were character story-based, like story-driven games.
Yeah.
The other 5, or actually, sorry, 6, I guess. One of them is Galaxy, because like Galaxy has characters that we love, so I still kind of counted that. But the other things are like Forza Horizon, which is a racing game.
Yeah.
Which is a create and share game. It's Burnout Paradise is one of them. Portal 2, like those games. Mm-hmm. They're not shooters. They can survive.
And that's the thing. Galaxy, for example, or even not Zelda games because there's a storyline there, but Galaxy and Donkey Kong, those are games that because there's a single player, 20 years from now, it's not just the characters. It's the gameplay was so good that you can go back and you can kind of. 20 years from now, we're not going to be talking about playing Titanfall because it's an online game. There's nothing to go back to. You cannot, in 20 years from now, you won't be seeing new matches of Titanfall being shown on Let's Plays. It's not going to happen.
Yep. The servers will be
those games are going to be done. It's going to be, people like our kids, the next generation of kids will not know about Titanfall. They'll hear about it, and they'll never be able to really experience it ever. The original, anyway, depending on if they make sequels or not. And that's whereas Donkey Kong, Mario, they're going to be able to watch Let's Plays of it. People are going to still be able to go back to them, and then we're going to be able to play them on, either getting the physical copies or because they're so popular, they're going to make, them available on Virtual Console and eShops and all that stuff because there's something there. The gameplay is fantastic. People are going to go back. They're going to want to do speed runs. There's just so much there, and it's really too bad that the industry is going in that way. Although it seems as though they're kind of wanting to. They saw that trend and changed that up a little bit. Like the game that you just picked up, Lord of the Rings: Shadows of Mordor.
Yeah.
That right there, single player game.
Yep. And it's gonna be awesome.
So hopefully.
Yeah, I've seen the reviews, and I have a couple friends who have picked it up already who have been hounding me, telling me that how great it is. I was like, you already know I wanted this game, and I'm trying not to buy it. Stop telling me about it.
And then you're going to start playing it, and then you're going to tell me, and then I'm going to want to pick it up.
Well, it's a vicious circle. I have to make somebody buy it. I've already got my brother thinking about it now, too, so...
Jeez.
So that's awesome. That's how it works.
We'll talk about that next time. I think that'd be hopefully you'll have. If we do this in 2 weeks from now, do you think you'll have played it by that point?
I'll have definitely started it. I don't know how far I'll have made it. My big thing right now is finishing Wind Waker.
Yeah.
I want to get through that. I'm quite a ways along. Have you played Wind Waker?
Very little. I actually watched my brother play a lot more when it first came out. But I have not played the Wii U version at all. So
I'm basically I'm at the point where I'm collecting all of the shards of the Triforce of Courage. So I don't remember exactly, but I think I'm better than 2/3 of the way through the game.
Okay.
So anyways, I'll have that wrapped up pretty soon, and then before I really get too invested into this, I want to go back and finish Watch Dogs because I only have one act left.
Yeah.
And if I don't do it, another game's going to come out, and another game's going to come out, and it'll just keep falling behind. And there's no real reason why I stopped. Like, I was really enjoying it. And that
happens to me too. It's just
So
yeah. But that happens to me too. I'm playing this game. I enjoy this game. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
We're so alike.
I definitely want to finish Watch Dogs, though. Like, that game has to be finished, and then I can invest myself totally into Shadow of Mordor, basically, from that. But even then, that's going to take me a little bit of time. I should get some time to finish Wind Waker this weekend, hopefully. We'll see.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Hoping.
I'm the same way. I have to beat Watch Dogs too. And I was enjoying, but I got sidetracked with the multiplayer of that, and just ended up loving.
Yeah.
The campaign anymore. So, but I enjoyed the campaign. It's just that the multiplayer I just had a blast with.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but anyway, this was a good live stream. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, nice. Well, it's probably it's the most organized live stream we've probably ever done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the only other things that I think we really hit pretty much everything too. The only other things that we'd actually written down, or I'd written down, were just random points about like some of the lasting effect, and we hit some of them, like single player games, kind of going away, and we talked about indie games to a certain degree.
Yeah, the rise of indie games is a lot in last generation. And I find that ones that really helped out was Flower and Journey. I think that those just really put a lot of hype towards those kind of games, and people started looking at them. The what's it called? The parts of stories with like The Walking Dead. There was a lot of rise of big indie games that you could almost compete. Like The Walking Dead won awards, like best game of the year compared to other games. I think it was the Spike TV Award, so I mean I don't really say that that's a high achievement there. But it did win awards compared to other AAA games at the time. So
yeah,
that's kind of cool. There's positives and negatives to what the last generation did. The rise of HD games, and it's good. It's just that it kind of sucks because then, to an extent, the people that are making these are not making new games. But it's kind of good that you can kind of go back and revisit some of your favorite games and it looks better. Like, I mean, we want this for Legend of Dragoon, so I can't be really against this. The HD remakes. It allowed you to play Last of Us. It's going to allow you to play GTA 5 without getting a PS3 or 360. So
Tomb Raider for
definitely
people
some
who get to play that. I played Tomb Raider before, but I still bought the remaster because it was $30 and love that game.
Yeah. I ended up playing Tomb Raider, and I love it so much that I'm probably going to pick up the definitive edition as well on the Xbox One and PS4,
fantastic.
just because.
I remember you. I remember you doing the video, starting it up, your game night video, and I didn't know if you continued with it or not. So I'm happy to hear that you did. So you finished it. Awesome.
I'm almost done. I'm almost done. I'm just I have to go back and I'm hoping to actually beat it this weekend.
Oh, cool. It's so good.
Yeah. So honestly, I was playing a bunch of games at the time though. Like I said earlier to you, when I was playing like Skyrim, Legend of Dragoon, Final Fantasy IX. So, but Tomb Raider, I actually wanted to go back to, and I did, and it's very much like Uncharted, just Lara Croft, and brutal. Holy crap, is that game ever brutal? Lara gets beat the fuck up, man. I was like, oh my god, I didn't expect that.
I am so looking forward to the sequel, The Rise of the Tomb Raider. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
An Xbox One exclusive. Isn't that crazy?
That's nuts.
That's
nuts. That's totally left field. A few of the other things that have, a few of the other trends or lasting effects maybe of this gen. Some of them not good things necessarily. DLC and microtransactions.
Yeah, fucking Christ.
Betas, open betas, and all kinds of things have become really quite regular. You know, a lot of the big games are doing betas now.
It doesn't feel special, and then when the game comes out, it's like, well, I know what the game's about, and it's on the one hand, it's nice because you get to play the game beforehand, so you really decide on if you want to buy it or not. But then it's not special when you buy the game on launch day because you played it before, you know what it's like.
Yeah,
I like on the launch day you play it for the first time with everybody else, and you're like, wow, you're all experiencing it at the same time. That was a cool feeling.
Well, luckily for me, the only games that seem to get betas are first-person shooters.
That's true too, yeah.
So nothing's getting ruined for me, like from that kind of surprise sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think betas are something they're probably here to stay, but part of me feels like they're something that might get moved away from at the same time, because I feel like they could be potentially turning away a large number of customers.
To an extent, but I think it also helps them more so in the FPS multiplayer era because it gives them like, can we handle this many people? And like, if we're having a game, can we try to fix this? So I think that for those kind of games, they're going to keep them around just to kind of see servers and I don't know, just like so the glitches don't happen.
Yep. And the only other thing I had written down here was game consoles becoming more so media hubs or boxes for online services. Whereas
where they focus on other things than games, and it should be always about the games first, and then additional things here and there. I do agree that they should include other things, and like the thing that you were talking about with the Kinect. Yeah, that's cool. That with the working out thing with the Kinect and having Insanity on it. That's pretty cool. I'll admit that that's an addition that I would like, and they should talk about it. It's just that focus on the games first.
Actually, this I talked to a Twitch and stuff as well for, and I know the PS4 does that as well. But when I was talking about all the Xbox, like the Kinect uses that I actually do see value in, one of the ones that I can't believe I actually forgot was Skype. Because the Kinect is actually fantastic for Skype. I actually really quite like using my Xbox One to chat with some people, and it's great because I can actually I can snap Skype to the side and I can have a video chat with somebody while I'm playing a video game.
Yeah,
like,
that is cool.
There's a lot of cool things that you can do with those sorts of things. So I think over time the Kinect might show its value, but I think, I don't know.
It'll take a while, and it'll just be in, like, I think, small steps.
Yeah.
And then if it gets to a point where they need a big install base, and people have to have faith in it for the developers to show up, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So that covers all my stuff. I don't really have anything left here.
Yeah, nope. I'm good too, and then that's good because I gotta go. So,
yeah.
This was a good live stream though. I really enjoyed this. Next time, if we can do it in 2 weeks from now and get Jason in here too, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then hopefully I can kill off a couple more games, and maybe we can all get into some stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe start something off, or you can finish off Tomb Raider, and we'll get into Crackdown.
Yeah, exactly. Jason might even join us too.
You said it was up to 4?
Or
was that 2?
Okay, the first one is.
I remember
2.
Cool.
Second one said 4. Yeah. Second one's 4. So we could play with Jason with that one if he gets it.
Cool. Yeah, because I remember playing the first one with just one other guy. I don't recall. So, but it's a ton of fun, and you can play like literally almost. I think it's the better part of the game you can play in co-op. Mm-hmm. So it's cool.
Awesome. We will definitely do that. All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Jason. No, thank you for joining me, Kevin. Okay, Jason. Next time. Good live stream.
Later, y'all.
Hopefully in 2 weeks, we'll do another one.
Yes, hopefully in 2 weeks. We'll try and arrange that, and hopefully be able to give people a heads up again.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for watching. Bye-bye, everyone.
You were going to say Beardage.